Hi, folks. My name is John Demessemaeker. I am a product marketing manager here at Boostlingo. I'm joined today by Brian D'Agostino, our VP of Product. So we have a very exciting release coming up with server to server. It's going to have a big impact on Boostlingo and obviously on our customer base as well. But because server to server may be a foreign concept to a lot of people, I thought it'd be good to chat with Brian, chat about what it is exactly, how we went about building it, and how it'll benefit our customers. So I guess to start, before we get to server, what is a server, first of all? So I'll leave it to Brian to answer that.
Cool, thanks, John. What's a server? So, it's really hardware that helps route requests and also save data to a database for authorized users. So like when you think about mobile users, web users, even people placing calls with phone calls, it's going to hit a server to process. At Boost, we have multiple servers set up, each with a very specific task, and all of them are built with compliance in mind. So think of things like data sovereignty, where the location of your saved data matters a lot.
Right. And that's why we have different servers depending on where the customer is located, so we can be compliant, whether it's in Europe with GDPR or in Canada with other, policies. So yeah, makes sense.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then follow-up question, what is server to server?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a term we're internally using, and answering it's important to understand, all of these servers across the regions are logically separated. So they're hardware that is not connected, they're not networked. When I call for an interpretation in the US, that call stays in the US. Server to server is the mechanism we use to intelligently route requests between the instances. So think of a Canadian user being able to call an Australian user.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. And why did we decide to implement this? Why did we decide to build connections between servers?
Yeah, so well, one, we want to make sure we stay compliant in that when somebody's placing the call, the data resides in the area in which that call is being placed, right? But internationally, we've grown a ton, and our partners have grown as well. And the business has kind of forced us down this path. It's not to say that it wasn't in our plans, but the pandemic really had the world rethink about what effective communication is, and the remote model became focused. So we're committed to our partners' growth. Individual LLCs we're working with, not only them, but the companies that make up our network. So keeping them busy was a business goal for us, and server to server helps us accomplish that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, makes total sense. So from your perspective, Brian, what were some of the challenges actually building this out?
Sure. Lots of challenges building something this large. Our routing algorithm, it's one of the most important assets at the company, and the infrastructure supporting it, equally important, right? So the challenge was to keep that same level of quality with what we believe is going to be a significant uptick in volume. So stability and performance, important pieces to get right. Additionally, we have interpreters all over the world now, and the routing engine, we have to make sure it's quick and quality. So getting that right was no small effort. And then finally, the things that are interesting are the usability side, right? How is the data represented? How does it look to an interpreter answering in the US? How is it readable to a user placing the call in the UK? So it wasn't just technical challenges. It's the planning, the usability, all those things were things that we need to overcome. And fortunately, we have a great language access team and a development team as well to kind of understand the problem space and then build solutions around it.
Yeah, and I guess, different geographies, different interpreting norms, right? Interpreters in the UK work differently, interpreters in the US work differently. So it's great that we have a dedicated language access team to help facilitate that process. Yeah. Yeah, obviously, this implementation of server to server is going to be hugely beneficial to our BPIN, the Boostlingo Professional Interpreter Network. Could you talk a little bit about how server to server will benefit customers leveraging the VPN and what it means specifically for our interpreter network?
Yeah. For the VPN specifically, I mean, it's about expansion, coverage, opportunities, growth. There's just tons of potential for the US network alone. This, of course, now means we can start localizing those networks, right? So think about the VPIN specific to a region that it's being used in, all tied back to that larger VPIN network. So, tons of growth opportunity for the VPIN partners. And it also focuses us to rethink, routing in ways we've never imagined. So it's going to have us expand because those requirements are just so vastly different from region to region, like you mentioned. So that means interpreters are going to need to be more impactful. They're going to have more ability to deliver quality. And there's just not one solution we're offering, right? This expansion means more tools and a larger roadmap for, the most treasured resource, which is an interpreter. And it also means we're going to be taking a larger handle on the monitoring side to ensure quality. So we want to deliver high standards for quality and training, and all of that leads to a larger tool set that we could expand onto our partner base. And finally, another point on the opportunity side, interpreters are going to have access to more jobs, right? So it's going to greatly limit interpreter attrition, which is going to be great for our partners. And on the partner side, the one thing I learned from language services is there isn't a shortage of business requirements. And with international success being our top priority, clients are going to feel the system evolving. But most importantly, we're going to be expanding language coverage. So that's really going to help us take this into a new direction. So more languages covered for VRI and OPI, all of which for on-demand. And then finally, if I could think about the benefit for customers, we now are going to have a globalized language access network, right? So interpreters are going to be able to serve minority populations anywhere in the world.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's really exciting because it's not only going to be benefiting the interpreters in our network, but it's also going to benefit our partners and our customers. So yeah, it's like a win-win-win situation. Okay, yeah. So, obviously you're talking about the VPN kind of going global. And, Boostlingo's mission has always been to expand language access around the world. So generally, what do you think server to server means for the general future of Boostlingo, if you feel authorized to provide an answer there?
Well, what I can speak to is this just being the start, right? And, since this is really connecting a ton of regions and there's just a ton of work behind that, the roadmap for supporting international business, it's really endless. So that's the thing that excites me, right? And it's going to benefit Boost and the future of Boost in two ways, and I keep hitting on those: routing and interpreter access. So I believe our routing engine is just best in breed, and it allows us to kind of build really interesting things like compliance-based routing, that we could expand from the US to really anywhere. And because we're global, real-time monitoring tools are going to be introduced. And as we get a better sense of that demand, those tools are going to expand to our user base, like I mentioned. So just lots of exciting things coming out of this release, and all of it begins next week.
Yeah, right. It's super exciting. I think with Boostlingo, the network and the routing capabilities are unparalleled. Not to mention our newly acquired product suite as well, with being able to cover event interpreting, on-demand interpreting, as well as management and scheduling. So yeah, really, really cool stuff coming up. And yeah, thanks. Thanks for talking to me, Brian. I don't know if you have any other things to add, or if you want to build on what I said.
No. Thank you for your time. Really excited about this. Lots more news to come. And great. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Brian.